So there's two main things. You have the on-site and the off-site. So your on-site is, um, all your content. So content in general, for a single page to be relevant, um, you know, and you wouldn't necessarily be your home page, but other pages, if you really want them to be beefy and do well, they need, 1,000 words. Um, the other thing is then the site structure. So let's say you have a main services page. And then again, you don't have to do these things, but if you're really building it out and you're going to do the whole thing, then
Okay, so each individual service,
this is the methodology,
yeah, each individual service needs to kind of have its subpage. Okay.
right? And so yeah, so all these link back to this main service page, and back to the home page. So there's some elements with site structure there. The other thing is you can have a um, um, some kind of key page um, of info, but then you could have blog posts that support that. So then you could have several blog posts that talk about that content and then link back to that page. So this could be, a service page, one of the direct service pages. So you have, 3 blog posts and those link back to a service page.
Okay.
So, again, you have the overall structure, ideally, of your main services page, each service. And then as you do other content, you're like, okay, I got a new blog post. What should I write about? Well, write about one of your services and link back to that service.
Okay.
So that's general site structure. Um, and then you got your page, what we call the metadata. This is the page title, page description, um, alt text, which is with images. So with images, you have text, that's the alternate text. If for some reason that image doesn't display, but again, you can use keywords in that alt text. Um, and then you have your sitemap, which gets submitted to Google. So then every time you have a change or an update to the site, it pings Google again and says, "Hey, I've got new information, new stuff happening, and come check it out."
Okay.
Um, and then ideally, at the very least, Google Analytics or some type of analytics that you've got on the site. So that's kind of the main core stuff on the website itself. I don't, linking to, well, let me add this content. Video content is important too. This can be either, direct upload, or it could be YouTube video embed as a piece of that. What else was I just thinking of? So that's most of your on-site basics. Very high level, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And then let me change this map a little bit. And I'll send you this when we're done here. All right, so then your offsite, this is where your, in general, this is link building. So this is where you're, doing a guest blog post on another site that links back to your site. This is all the social media posting. So, when you create a blog post and you post that on social, and that drives traffic back to your website. So those are creating links. You have what we call either local listings, citations. These aren't as critical, but your Google Business Profile, um, Bing profile, Yelp, etc., etc. That kind of stuff. Um, and then if you really want to get into it, there's a whole, um, you know, basically outsource link building to, variety of companies that can do link building at scale, where they can target higher ranking domains and that kind of stuff. So let me mention this here, domain authority. So this domain authority is kind of the thing you're chasing. So it's 0 to 100. Um, like, let's see here. Domain authority on my site's 22. So somewhere in your 20s is pretty typical for a site that's been out there for a while, that you've been doing some stuff with. A brand new site starts out, 3 or 4 as domain authority, which pretty much, is almost nothing. A domain authority of 100 is like CNN.com, so as a comparison. So, as you get in, the idea with link building is, can I get domains that link higher? So here we have like LinkedIn.com. It has a domain authority of 99. So it's definitely a site that helps my domain authority. Meetup.com, different things like that. So those are um, linking domains, and then you're going, well, how many more domains can I get? What keywords can I rank for? So then there's a whole world of that, and that's really where it gets expensive, because at that point um, you're doing at that point, cost, you're really starting at about $1,000 a month, to start doing that stuff. Now, the thing that you can do, the thing that's kind of awesome right now with AI is you can use AI to really help you create content, in particular, like your blog post. You can create all the blog content you want. You don't have to, you know, outsource that. If you want to get links, you might have to, certain domain authority because you're like, well, I want to go after a 50 domain authority of 50 or higher. That's when you start having to pay money to get that kind of stuff done. But you can create content all day, post it on social media, create a little video, and drive traffic to your website and get links on your own.
Okay.
That work, just as well. But that's kind of what you're chasing early on is like, how do I get from, invisible to, a 15 or a 20 domain authority? And so the first step is get everything done on your website
Hmm.
that needs to be done. And then you can start creating more content, driving more traffic. And then if you're like, well, I got money to spend now, then you start looking at those options.
Yeah, and I think for the initial need, it's the housekeeping foundational stuff that kind of gets things set up that
Yeah,
um, we'll get.
this is like must do, right? The on-site stuff, all doable, not expensive, one-time deal, have it done. So you at least have the foundation
Right.
in place, and then you can do whatever else you want to later on from there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, so that's some SEO lessons in a nutshell.
Great. Okay. No, that seems to kind of be in line with what